One day, when everything between us becomes a memory worth telling, you might ask me a question. A simple question. The kind of question that sounds small when it leaves your lips but carries the weight of an entire lifetime. When did you fall in love with me? And I think the strangest part of all this is that I won't know how to answer. Because there was no single moment. No dramatic beginning. No perfect scene. No magical second where the universe paused and announced that my life was about to change forever. Love didn't arrive that way. It arrived quietly. So quietly that I almost missed it. Like dawn slipping through a window before anyone notices the night is gone. Like a melody that starts in the background and somehow becomes the only song you can hear. Like rain falling far away before the storm finally reaches your doorstep. That's how you happened to me. Slowly. Silently. Completely. At first, you were just another chapter in a life already filled with responsibilities, plans, unfinished dreams, and ordinary days. Nothing about that beginning warned me. Nothing told me that one day your name would carry a different meaning inside my heart. Nothing suggested that one day I would be sitting here trying to find words large enough to explain what you became to me. But life has a peculiar way of hiding extraordinary things inside ordinary moments. And maybe that's why I didn't recognize it immediately. Maybe that's why it took me so long. Because while I was busy looking for grand signs and undeniable certainty, love was already growing. Patiently. Quietly. Beneath everything. I noticed it in the smallest places first. The way certain conversations stayed with me long after they ended. The way my mood changed when I heard from you. The way ordinary days seemed slightly brighter whenever you were part of them. The way I found myself wanting to tell you things before I told anyone else. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. And that difference changed everything. Without realizing it, you became part of the rhythm of my days. A thought that arrived naturally. A presence that felt familiar. A comfort I never expected. And the strange thing about comfort is that most people underestimate its power. They think love begins with excitement. With butterflies. With chaos. With obsession. But sometimes love begins with peace. Sometimes it begins when one person slowly becomes the safest place inside another person's world. And that's what you became for me. Not a distraction. Not an escape. A home. The kind of home that doesn't have walls. The kind built from trust, understanding, laughter, and the feeling that someone finally sees the parts of you that everyone else overlooks. I didn't know how much I needed that until you appeared. Because before you, I had become very good at carrying things alone. Very good at smiling when I was tired. Very good at pretending I wasn't overwhelmed. Very good at convincing people that I was stronger than I actually felt. The world rewards that kind of performance. People admire resilience. They admire independence. They admire the ability to survive. But very few people stop to ask what survival costs. Very few people notice the exhaustion hidden underneath strength. Very few people wonder how heavy the armor becomes after wearing it for years. You did. Not because I told you. Not because I explained it. You simply noticed. And being noticed in a world full of distractions is one of the rarest gifts a person can receive. That was the beginning. Not the day I met you. Not the first conversation. Not the first smile. The beginning was the first time I realized that being understood felt different when it came from you. Because understanding from you never felt like observation. It felt like care. And care has a way of reaching places words cannot. It finds the cracks, the hidden wounds, the silent fears, the unspoken hopes. And somehow, without ever forcing anything, you reached all of them. You saw the pieces I spent years hiding. And instead of turning away, you stayed. That is something I will never forget. And maybe that's why what I feel for you is different from anything I have ever felt before. Because it wasn't built on fantasy. It wasn't created by distance. It wasn't born from the illusion of perfection. It grew from reality. From seeing you exactly as you are. And choosing you anyway. Actually, not anyway. Because of who you are. Because the more I learned about you, the more impossible it became to look away. Most people spend their lives trying to appear extraordinary. Trying to become someone worth noticing. Trying to create a version of themselves that will impress the world. But you never seemed interested in any of that. You never chased attention. You never demanded admiration. You never walked into a room expecting people to revolve around you. And somehow that made you unforgettable. There is a certain kind of beauty that only exists in people who don't know how beautiful they are. A certain kind of grace that only exists in people who aren't trying to appear graceful. You carry both. Not perfectly. Not flawlessly. But honestly. And honesty is far more beautiful than perfection could ever be. I think that's what captured me. The honesty. The realness. The way you remained yourself even when pretending would have been easier. The way you kept your heart soft in situations that would have hardened most people. The way you continued believing in goodness after witnessing disappointment. The way you kept offering kindness without demanding guarantees in return. You have no idea how rare that is. The world is full of people who only give when they're certain they'll receive something back. People who measure every act of love. Every sacrifice. Every risk. As though human connection were a business transaction. But you love differently. You give because it feels natural to you. You help because someone needs help. You care because your heart doesn't know how not to. And even when nobody notices, you continue. Even when nobody thanks you, you continue. Even when people misunderstand your intentions, you continue. Because kindness isn't something you perform. It's something you are. And I have watched that quiet kindness leave fingerprints on everyone around you. Sometimes you don't even realize it. You don't realize how many people walk away from conversations with you feeling lighter. How many people carry your encouragement longer than they carry their own doubts. How many people remember your compassion years after you've forgotten the moment completely. You underestimate your impact. You always have. Maybe because you're too close to yourself to see it. Maybe because you're so focused on what you haven't accomplished that you overlook the lives you've already touched. But I see it. I see the difference you make. I see the warmth you leave behind. I see the invisible ways you improve the world simply by existing inside it. And every time I notice another one of those things, I fall a little deeper. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Just steadily. The way rivers shape mountains. The way stars slowly fill a night sky. The way roots grow beneath the earth before anyone sees the tree. That's what loving you has felt like. A quiet transformation. Something happening beneath the surface until one day I looked at my life and realized your presence had become part of everything. You were there in my happiest thoughts. You were there in my future plans. You were there in the moments I needed courage. You were there in the dreams I was almost afraid to admit I had. And somewhere along the way, the idea of a future stopped being about me. It started becoming about us. Not because I expected anything. Not because I assumed anything. Simply because every version of happiness my heart imagined somehow included you. You sitting beside me. You laughing at something ridiculous. You telling stories you've already told before. You reaching for my hand without thinking. You existing in the ordinary moments that eventually become a life. Because that's the secret nobody tells you. Love isn't built from extraordinary days. It's built from ordinary ones. The mornings. The conversations. The silences. The routines. The thousand little moments that seem insignificant while they're happening but become priceless when you look back. And when I imagine those moments, you're always there. Always. Like you belong there. Like you always have. Like some part of my heart recognized you long before my mind understood why. And that realization frightened me. Not because loving you felt wrong. Because it felt right. Terrifyingly right. The kind of right that leaves no room for excuses. The kind of right that forces a person to stop hiding behind uncertainty. The kind of right that demands honesty. So I tried to ignore it, I tried to convince myself it would fade. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself I was reading too much into small moments. I told myself 100 different stories designed to protect me from the truth. But the truth remained. Quiet. Patient. Unmoving. Waiting for me to finally accept it. And eventually I did. Eventually I stopped running. Eventually I stopped pretending. Eventually I sat alone with my thoughts and admitted something I could no longer deny. I loved you. Not the idea of you. Not the version of you that exists in dreams. Not some fantasy I created in my head. You. Exactly as you are. The real you. The complicated you. The imperfect you. The beautiful, stubborn, hopeful, wounded, extraordinary human being standing right in front of me. And once I admitted that truth, everything changed. Everything changed. Not on the outside. The world continued exactly as it always had. The sun still rose every morning. People still hurried through their routines. Days still came and went with the same predictable rhythm. But inside me, something was entirely different. Because once you finally accept a truth, you cannot unknow it. You cannot return to the comfort of uncertainty. You cannot pretend you don't feel what you feel. And from that moment forward, every thought of you carried a new weight. A new meaning. A new tenderness. I began noticing things I had overlooked before. Not because they suddenly appeared. Because I finally understood their value. The way your eyes change when you're genuinely happy. The way your voice softens when you're speaking about something close to your heart. The way you become quieter when you're carrying pain. The way you try to protect other people from burdens you were never meant to carry alone. I noticed all of it. And the more I noticed, the more I realized how much of yourself you keep hidden. Most people know your smile. Few people know your silence. Most people know your strength. Few people know your exhaustion. Most people know the version of you that survives. Few people know the version of you that sometimes struggles to keep going. But I know that version. Or at least I am trying to. Because loving someone isn't learning their brightest moments. It's learning the shadows too. It's choosing to stay when life becomes complicated. It's understanding that every strong person has days when they feel weak. Every brave person has moments of fear. Every smile carries stories nobody else can see. And every heart, no matter how beautiful, has scars. You have scars. I know you do. Not the kind people talk about openly. The invisible kind. The memories that still hurt when they return unexpectedly. The disappointments that changed the way you trust. The losses that taught you life doesn't always give explanations. The promises that were broken. The hopes that never arrived. The moments when you gave everything and still walked away empty-handed. I know they exist. Maybe not every detail, maybe not every chapter. But I can feel their shape. I can see the echoes they left behind. And what amazes me most isn't that you've been hurt. It's that your heart survived it. Not untouched. Not unchanged. But alive. Still capable of loving. Still capable of believing. Still capable of dreaming about a future brighter than your past. That takes courage. More courage than most people will ever understand. Because it's easy to become cynical. Easy to stop caring. Easy to close every door and convince yourself you're protecting your peace. What's difficult is remaining open. Remaining hopeful. Remaining willing to risk disappointment again. Yet somehow, that's exactly what you've done. And that's one of the reasons I admire you so much. You keep choosing light. Even after darkness. You keep choosing trust. Even after betrayal. You keep choosing hope. Even after heartbreak. And maybe that's why being around you feels different. Because people like you remind the rest of us of who we were before fear became our favorite teacher. You remind people that kindness is still possible. That sincerity still exists. That goodness hasn't disappeared from the world. You carry those reminders without even trying. And every day I spend knowing you, I become more grateful for that. More grateful for you. There are moments when I wonder if you realize what you mean to people. If you understand how much warmth follows you wherever you go. How many lives you've quietly touched. How many hearts feel safer because you're part of their story. I don't think you do. I think you're too busy focusing on what you're still trying to become. Too busy noticing your flaws. Too busy criticizing yourself for things nobody else even sees. You have always been harder on yourself than you deserve. You hold yourself to impossible standards. You expect perfection from a human heart. And when you fall short of those expectations, you judge yourself far more harshly than anyone else ever would. If only you could see yourself the way I do. If only you could borrow my eyes for a single day. You would discover something beautiful. You would discover that the qualities you worry about most are often the things that make you lovable. Your sensitivity. Your overthinking. Your stubborn determination. Your endless concern for people you care about. Your refusal to give up. Even when you're exhausted. Even when you're discouraged. Even when nobody would blame you for walking away. You keep going. And there is something profoundly beautiful about that. Something impossible not to admire. Sometimes I imagine sitting across from you years from now. No distractions. No uncertainty. No fear. Just us. And I imagine telling you all the things I'm telling you now. Every truth. Every feeling. Every moment that led me here. I imagine watching your expression change as you realize how deeply you have been loved. Not admired. Not appreciated. Loved. Completely. The parts you show the world, the parts you hide. The strengths. The flaws. The victories. The wounds. All of it. Because real love isn't selective. It doesn't choose only the easy pieces. It embraces the whole story. And your story, every chapter of it, has become precious to me. more precious than you know. Perhaps more precious than words can properly explain. And that's why I can no longer pretend this is something small. Because it isn't small. What I feel for you has outgrown silence. It has outgrown caution. It has outgrown every excuse I once used to keep it hidden. And now it stands here inside me, impossible to ignore, asking only one thing. To be spoken. To finally be heard. To finally reach the person it has belonged to all along. You. So here I am. No more hiding behind careful words. No more pretending that what I feel can be reduced to friendship, admiration, or simple affection. No more convincing myself that silence is the safer choice. Because some truths become too large to keep inside. And this truth has been growing in me for longer than I realized. Long enough to change the way I see the world. Long enough to change the way I see myself. Long enough to change the meaning of home. For the longest time, I thought love was something dramatic. Something loud. Something that arrived with certainty and fireworks and undeniable signs. But you taught me something different. You taught me that real love is often quiet. It lives in the small moments. The unnoticed moments. The moments that seem ordinary until years later when you realize they were actually changing your life. Real love is remembering someone's voice when everything else is noisy. Real love is wanting to tell them every good thing that happens to you. Real love is seeing a future and instinctively searching for them inside it. Real love is finding one person in a crowded world and feeling a sense of peace simply because they exist. That is what you became to me. Peace. Not because life suddenly became easy. Not because every problem disappeared. But because somehow, whenever I thought of you, the world felt a little less heavy. A little less complicated. A little more beautiful. And maybe that's the greatest gift one human being can give another. To make life feel lighter simply by being part of it. You've given me that gift. Without trying. Without knowing. Without ever asking for anything in return. And now I need you to know something. Something simple. Something true. If one day the entire world misunderstands you, I won't. If one day you become tired of being strong, you won't have to be strong with me. If one day your hopes begin to fade, I will remind you of every reason they deserve to survive. If one day you lose faith in yourself, I will lend you mine until you find your own again. If one day life becomes so heavy that you feel like you can't carry it anymore, you won't carry it alone. Because loving someone isn't standing beside them only when the sun is shining, it's staying when the sky grows dark. It's choosing them on difficult days. It's remaining when remaining requires effort. And if there's one thing I know with complete certainty, it's this: I would choose you. Again. And again. And again. Not because you're perfect. Because you're you. Because no one else has your heart. No one else has your laugh. No one else sees the world the way you do. No one else carries the same mixture of strength and softness, courage and kindness, wisdom and wonder. There is only one you. And somehow, against all odds, my heart found its way to you. Maybe that's fate. Maybe it's luck. Maybe it's simply what happens when two souls recognize something familiar in each other. I don't know. What I do know is that every road in my life somehow seems to lead back to the same place. Back to you. Back to your smile. Back to your voice. Back to the person who became important before I even understood why. And if I could make one wish for the future, it wouldn't be wealth. It wouldn't be success. It wouldn't be certainty. It would be time. Time with you. More conversations. More memories. More ordinary days that become extraordinary simply because they're shared. Because at the end of everything, that's what matters most. Not what we owned. Not what we achieved. But who stood beside us while we lived. And if life gives me that chance, if life allows me to walk beside you through the years ahead, then I promise you this, I will never stop choosing you. I will never stop appreciating you. I will never stop noticing the little things that make you who you are. I will never stop being grateful that in a world filled with billions of people, I was lucky enough to find you. And if anyone ever asks me what love looks like, I won't give them a definition. I won't quote poetry. I won't tell them a story. I'll simply think of you. Because after everything I've learned, after every feeling I've tried to describe, after every word I've searched for and every truth I've finally spoken, love, to me, has your face. Your heart. Your soul. And if there is one final thing I want you to remember after all these words have faded into silence, it is this: you were never difficult to love. You were never too much. You were never a burden. You were never someone who needed to become more in order to be worthy of love. You were worthy from the beginning. You are worthy now. And you always will be. So this is my truth. My unguarded truth. The truth I can no longer keep hidden. I see you. I admire you. I cherish you. And with every part of my heart, I love you. Always. And no matter where life takes us next, a part of me will always be grateful that, in this vast and unpredictable universe, I got the chance to know someone as extraordinary as you. The End. Red Heart.